Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bad Moms in Business. My dog is barking. She is so glad you're here too.
Yes.
Today we're talking about something that Danielle has brought up, and I think it's a cool topic: parenting, timeouts, and sleepovers.
Yeah. So
What a combo.
it's a weird combo, but I saw this TikTok and we will link it in the show notes if we can find the exact TikTok. But she was talking about last week we talked about like the 5 things we would never do as a business owner. And she did the 5 things I would never do, I think as like a psychologist or child therapist or something like that. And 2 of her things were that she did not agree with isolated timeouts. And she did not agree with sleepovers.
Okay.
And sleepovers is a big one lately. I don't know if you guys, so I'm in the whole, like, we've talked about it before, but like gentle parenting side of TikTok and stuff like that, which has gotten a lot of negative feedback lately, but there's restrictions and stuff on everything. But anyways, and sleepovers has been a big hot ticket item.
Which one do you want to start with? Timeouts or sleepovers? I have so much to say.
I will say, I would like to talk about sleepovers because I have a 3-year-old and a almost 6-month-old. Like, I'm not in this realm yet. We have not ventured into this.
I'll just dive right into my experience with what I do for Owen. Again, the experiences are different when you have one or many, right? I think, but,
True.
And whatever your child is like too. So, or the type of helicopter mom you are. So in all of Owen's 15 and a half years, he has had the opportunity to sleep over at 2 different houses, and that's it. Not the opportunity, like the opportunity I've given, not that he's not been allowed to have like more opportunities. I just have validated 2 families that I felt were okay or good, not even okay, very, very good. And that's it. So if you know who you are to families and consider yourself very, very high on my list of people I respect because of that, I think that there's a lot that goes into it. And so for me, my mind, like, obviously I wanted to know that the parents were very stable. I wanted to have an idea, like if were they heavy drinkers or not drinkers, like all the normal things that are there, what kind of siblings are around.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah. The location of the property. Like, is it a lot of land? Like, what kind of toys do they have? Is there a pool? Like, there's just so much that my mind went into. It's not a sleepover that used to happen in the 80s,
which that's, I mean, I was born in the 80s, but like my sleepovers happened in the 90s, but like that was what we did. Birthday parties were sleepovers. My mom, go ahead. My mom would meet the parents, and make sure that like she felt comfortable, but then like that was it. I spent the night at everybody's house. You know what I'm saying? Like every birthday party possible. And it was a blast. And I apparently lucked out and nothing negative really ever happened. I may have like thrown up from eating too much cake or something. Like that's it.
And to think that, thank God, nothing negative happened when so often now things really can go wrong. So those are just kind of my thoughts. If there was a younger sibling with Owen being a boy, like, would he have been accused of doing something he didn't do? Like, I mean, there's just so many things that my mind thinks about now that there are just so many public issues that have been brought to light. So I've been very, very cautious with the sleepovers, and he's had 2 places he's been allowed to sleep, and that's it. And one of them, it literally was just as of recently, like a month ago.
Wow.
So there's that.
Bridgette, what are your thoughts?
If you're listening to this and Owen had other plans the night that you asked him to sleep over, you were not on Amanda's list. Just so you know. I'm just kidding.
Well, and yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, I'm not.
It's just saying that maybe Amanda doesn't know you well enough.
I don't know. Yes, I don't know the family well enough.
Yeah. I go back and forth on this because when I was little, my dad would not let us have sleepovers. Like,
really?
We were not going to anyone else's house. And
that blows my mind.
Me too. I'm really surprised.
I would have thought he would have been.
That was like not a thing back then.
Yeah, my dad was also a very anxious person. So I think his mind went to, there was some big news story about, and I don't know if it ended up being true or not, and I can't remember all the details, but a girl was abducted during a sleepover. And I think that just
Interesting.
stuck with my dad. So yeah, I can't recall a single sleepover that I ever was allowed to go to before the age of 14.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So having had that experience, I don't want that for my kids. I want them to be able to go and have fun and sleep over and whatever. But yeah, it has to be a family I know. They sleep over next door every once in a while and vice versa, but we're next door. Like,
Well, yeah. And
you
I,
know.
one thing that this doctor, whatever therapist talked about was, she said, like, if it's a family member, like they're going to stay at their aunt and uncle's house or like their grandparents' house or like your best friend's house, then that's fine. But any like school, whatever, she'll let them, her kid go hang out at the party and then collect them.
See, let's go back to that. Like, that is a beautiful compromise.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you're just not letting them to be to the point where stupid things are happening at that point, because that's just what's happening.
Bridgette, were you able to like go to parties and stuff like that, like birthday parties, and then just get picked up? Do you still feel like you missed out on like bonding, I guess?
I think I did. But there is a limit too. Like I would not let them go and spend the night at just anybody's house for sure. And there have been sleepovers that they've done that I wish I wouldn't have allowed. And not because anything happened by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, in hindsight, it's like, maybe I should have just picked them up. So yeah, I go back and forth.
And I think if anyone's listening and they're on the fence about certain things like this, please go with your gut.
Yeah.
Your gut is telling you something for a reason. And, you know, now that Owen is old enough, like he's stronger than I am. He's so smart. But I still worry now because just this month ago or whatever, when he spent the night over a friend's house, now that the older they are, the dumber they can act.
Right? Oh, that's true. Oh, the stories I could tell you about.
And so now
adolescent.
I'm worrying for whole different reasons now. You know, alcohol could start coming into the equation.
And it will.
It will. And Owen is such a good kid. And I'm not being oblivious when I say that. He's very, very responsible. He doesn't like to be inconvenienced. He doesn't like to get hurt. So he just naturally will avoid doing certain things that are dumb.
Sure.
That does not mean he can't be a consequence of someone else doing something stupid and getting hurt in other ways. And so it's just worrisome in a whole different way when they get older.
That's true. I wasn't thinking about that. Until Danielle gets some therapy, she's probably going to have just crazy amount of anxiety around this kind of stuff as my kids age.
I still have the anxiety when Owen's not with me. When he's with his father, I have anxiety. And for those who don't know, like I'm still married to his father, but if they leave me together, like I'm like, oh gosh, my baby's not with me.
I was just talking to Brandon about that, and we can maybe touch on anxiety as like a whole topic. But I have car anxiety. And so my big thing is like, I was constantly like, you know, when we would have sleepovers, even like, just like, if it was just like one or two of us or something, we would all be packed up into like some person's minivan and driven to like Blockbuster and stuff like that, which doesn't happen anymore. But like, I could not imagine my child being in the car of somebody outside of myself and Brandon.
Yep. I have the same problem.
Wait until they're their driver. Like, oh my
God.
Yeah.
I will literally, the second Watson starts like driver's training, I promise you, if I have not had therapy yet, I promise you I will need it. Like that I could almost cry every single time Watson leaves my sight in a vehicle.
It's unlike anything else you ever experience when you're in the car with him, like, and he is driving. It's insane.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really hard. I will share I think I can't be 100%, but I think this is what was my last sleepover experience as a kid.
You're gonna hear that.
Okay. I vividly remember I spent the night down the street at a friend's house, and her parents were either separated or technically divorced at that point, and her dad came over, and they drank a lot, and there was a major domestic dispute. While I was there, police came.
Oh.
And I was down the road, and I could have went home, but I didn't want like my mom to get angry, and I didn't know what to do. And so, guys, this is so stupid that I'm even admitting this out loud. But when I knew the police were coming, I was like, I look like crap. I've got to brush my hair.
That is so Amanda.
And my friend was like, Amanda, like, this is the last thing you need to worry about. The police are coming to my house. I was like, but like, I have a rat. It was probably a soothing mechanism at that moment in time. Oh, it was bad.
Because you were able to control one thing out of this entire crazy situation.
The dad got taken to jail, obviously. And yes. And so the next day, my mom was like, how was it? And that was the only time I've lied to her.
Wow.
Only time in all of my life that I've lied to my mom. And I said,
I lied to my mom all the time.
I was just about to say, Mom, if you were listening to this, I never lied to you before.
I'm sorry, Mom, but I did. I wasn't really at Michelle's house.
See, my mom always knew where I was, and I told her it was fine. And I never asked to probably sleep over anywhere again. Yeah.
I wasn't really at Michelle's house.
Well, all is well that ends well. Ma Ingalls used to say that all the time. So
I was like 16, 17, 18.
Of course. This is the risk of allowing your kids to sleep over. And that was in a time that you couldn't document their location as well as you can now. There's cell phones. There's to ask a mom to, like, you physically go to the person's phone and be like, can I call my mom to send me home? As opposed to sending your mom or dad a text now, like, this is terrible. Can you come and get me? And then them calling and say, oh, there's an emergency. I have to come get you. You know, there's just ways to help your kid now.
Yeah.
That was how my mom checked up on me. I dated this guy in high school, a few of them that my mom was not a fan of. And my mom would be like, oh, you're going over her house? Well, I need you to call me. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll call you. No, I need you to call me from her house phone.
Oh, busted.
Oh, I see.
Smart.
Gotcha. Yep. But that was back when you had both. There were cell phones and there were home phones. It was a weird time.
Yep.
Yeah. The stakes have remained the same. It's the rules of the game have changed significantly. And I was not a smart enough kid to break the rules. Like I can't tell a lie to save my life. If I'm playing cards, I have like a deck of them. I'm like, oh, like I can immediately get stupid if it's a good hand. It's dumb.
So what had happened was there was like this raccoon.
Yeah.
This raccoon came and it was so crazy.
And then the cops were called because of who else was going to get the raccoon. So I guess because of maybe that's what scarred me into being like really against sleepovers.
I mean, that's pretty dramatic,
right?
That would do it.
That'd do it.
I'm kind of excited to talk about sleepovers because, or not sleepovers. I'm over that. Time out.
Okay. Okay.
And let me tell you why. Because Chris and I used to watch Super Nanny. Do
Ooh,
you guys remember
okay.
Super Nanny?
I've never seen it, but I do remember.
Oh,
love her. Like, get on the Facebook side of her, and you'll get like suggested videos of like the clips. They're fantastic. Love her.
Interesting.
I think she's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And we watched her before we even had kids, and we were like mentally taking notes. Like, oh, okay, all right, okay. So timeouts are something that I implemented quite a bit for my kids. Not, you know what I'm saying. If we were in the middle of IKEA, and we were, and Aaron acted like a fool, and he did, I would find the nearest bench and I would sit him on it, and we would do a timeout in the middle of IKEA. Did I look like a crazy person? Probably. But did he stop acting like a fool? Kind of.
Okay, so
you're like, kind of.
Sometimes.
this is what this TikToker meant, was it was isolated timeouts,
right?
Which is
go to your room and come down.
Being left alone, whether it be in whatever room, on whatever chair, and left to deal with big feelings alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how it negatively correlates to even adults not knowing how to manage or regulate your own feelings because you never had that taught to you, kind of thing.
Well,
yeah. So
no, I was just gonna say, look at us as adults and how we do what we do, and it takes somebody else walking us off the ledge, or to have that support.
Not great at it.
Did I say that right? Walk us off the ledge. Thank you. So it makes total sense that it shouldn't be isolated.
For sure. And Super Nanny Jo, her thing is you take the little person to wherever your timeout space is. If it's
so you need a designated timeout area.
I think typically yes.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. But like you take them, you sit them down and you say, you are in timeout because you hit me. You are not allowed to hit. And then you say, I will be back. And if they're 1 year old, then you leave them for 1 minute. If they're 4, you leave them for 4 minutes. And not necessarily leave them, but you explain why they were there. And then you go back and you say, you are in timeout because you hit me. Are we allowed to hit? No. Okay. Thank you so much. I love you. Let's have a hug. Let's go play. And like, it's not shaming them. It's not screaming at them. It's reiterating what they did, what action caused the consequence. And then we're forgiven and we move on.
Interesting. We've done timeouts with Watson, not super frequently, but when we do it, it's a full-blown meltdown. We usually stay right there with him just because he'll leave. He's like, I am not gonna stay in this chair. I'm sorry. What kind of fool do you take me for? He's perfect. So we'll stay right there with him. But eventually he'll be like, I need to talk about it. I'm ready to talk about it. So then we actually have the full conversation, but I have to wait for him to calm down first.
And she did suggest too, again, I only have Super Nanny's experience, but like if they get up, you pick them up and you put them back and you say, you're still in timeout because you hit me. I will be, you have a minute left.
And
whatever.
Danielle, it is not for the weak of heart when she's doing it. And I don't think most of those parents could do it without her, because some of them, it's a 2-hour window to get them to finally stay in timeout.
Or bedtime even. Bedtime.
Yeah, or bedtime. Yeah. And you just keep returning them. And then you don't talk about it after a while. You're just placing them, and eventually they stop. You got to break that habit of them having the power to just continue to throw that fit. And listen, I love Nanny Jo. Love her.
And who knows, maybe like in 2022, some of her techniques aren't, but none of them were cruel.
No, they're very safe options. So I think they're great options. I just never did timeouts with Owen. Like, I'm just a sucker.
I did.
It's tough for me too.
It was not tough for me. I'm like, you think you're going to throw that thing across the room again? You're wrong.
But to be fair, Owen never did that. Oh, you know what I mean? He just was a different kid.
It's the personal attacks for me. Like, you want to throw your toy? That's fine. I'm going to take your toy away. But it's you want to hit me? You want to kick me? You want to yell in my face?
Does Watson actually do that? I don't believe it. Tell me he doesn't. Does he really?
The boy is sassy.
I want to be very clear when I say Owen didn't do that kind of stuff. And that's why I have one. I knew a second could not come along and be good.
It's tough. It's really tough. I think Watson's thing is, it's so hard for me to, I don't know how to phrase it. It's easy for me to forget that he's 3.
Yep. I have that same problem. Yeah.
I talk to him like he's not an adult, but like I talk to him like he's a 10-year-old, and so when he has like these crazy big emotions up, I'm like, where did this come from? I'm like, he's 3. He doesn't have any idea what's going on in life.
A normal behavior for someone of his age. Yeah. It is hard because Watson does act like a little like mini adults in so many ways. So it
he
is
already
hard.
doesn't think I'm funny anymore. He doesn't think I'm cool. I say something clever. He rolls his eyes. He's a teenager.
That's how I felt with Aaron and Jace, really, because they were both truly just so well behaved.
Mhm.
And when they did act like a 4-year-old, then I was like, oh, that's right, you're 4.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I
the same
should-
exact thing.
yeah.
It does not happen very often, but when it does, I'm like,
Yep.
bro, what gives?
Yep. I know. I had that same exact experience.
Well, I mean, I guess we all can agree that timeouts can be effective.
I think so. I really do.
I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted.
You got a lot of years of timeouts ahead of you,
I do.
Danielle.
I do.
And I will, we can wrap up this conversation with, I did read a Dear Abby, and I probably read this at 15. This is so stupid. When there was like newspapers with Dear Abby.
Yeah.
And it was somebody that would have been the me, like writing in about the Bridgette. Going, I have a friend and she puts her baby in a crib for a timeout, and I would say probably the baby was actually like very close to a baby, like not like probably a year under, not understanding what a timeout would be. And she calls it a timeout, and I just have such a hard time with her doing that because I just don't think babies get timeout, and she just lets the baby cry. And Dear Abby responded like so gracefully in saying that, did you ever think that the mom needed the timeout?
Oh,
and the baby was safer in the crib while the mom was having her timeout, and then she could safely in her right mind go get the baby. And that has stuck with me for decades because sometimes moms need the time out, and that's why timeouts
100%
are effective, not just for the kid but for the parent.
Guys, we had a very, very hard weekend in that there was an event happening near our house, and we went to it. We took the boys, and there was like street vendors and food and stuff like that. And Watson was sitting. First of all, Jet was absolutely losing it because he's 5 months old and that's what he does. Mm-hmm. And Watson was sitting at a picnic table getting ready to eat, and he forgot that there was no back to the seat. And he pushed himself backwards, and he fell on the cement on his head. Like literally, we were on concussion watch. It was so traumatizing for me, traumatizing for him. And he was absolutely losing it. And I pretty much needed, once we got home, like I needed to put myself in timeout. Like I needed a breather. I do not handle stress really well when it comes to my babies. Mm-hmm. And it was a very, very stressful situation. Both babies are crying, 400 people just staring at us. Mm-hmm. It was awful. I mean, offering assistance and stuff, but also like everybody's talking at once. It's just like screaming babies in my face. Moms need timeouts. 100%
moms need timeout. And I
just like kids get overstimulated, so can we.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I did see a TikTok. Just yesterday, it was this cute family. They just had a baby, their very first baby. And the dad was trying to like soothe the baby. He's like, the baby's been crying for 4 hours and nothing's helping. And the mom came out of the bedroom and she's like, do you need to tap out? And he was like, no. She's like, but do you need to tap out for like safety? And he was like, no, I'm good. And I loved seeing that because I think like you need to have that communication with your partner or somebody that you can count on for that community, that if you need that break, you need to be able to get that break because people do snap. It's so unfortunate when it happens, but they do.
Brandon and I swap all the time. And it's not even just like a safety thing. It's like I need a mental break right now because I'm going crazy. Like I just need a second to have silence. And so we'll be like, switch. Yeah. And now we're at the stage where we just have to switch kids. It's not, you don't really get a break, but like
it's a different break. It's a break of scenery. It triggers the brain a little bit.
But it also, it tends to help that kid who's melting down also because now, okay, a different person has me with a different approach with a different whatever. So then everybody just sort of collectively calms down. It's nice. Agreed. We do it all the time.
Timeouts just aren't for kids.
No, I love it.
Well, good episode, good recommendation. I don't know that we got a whole lot of anywhere, but we talked about it.
Yeah, it's just important to talk about, and I'm
Absolutely.
interested to see what everybody else thinks as well.
I like it.
Don't forget to like, comment, share.
2 weeks in a row.
I
know
know
it.
Get it, Danielle. Get it, Danielle.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. We will see you next week with another episode of Bad Moms in Business. Until then, have a great week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.